Fans, we are back with a special year-end edition of the Shooting from the Hip podcast here on thehannibaltv.com. My name is Jack Kilby, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling, and I am joined, as always, by the one and only King of the Streets, the Kingpin, Angel Medina. How are you today?
Good and doing good, brother. I would want to wish you a happy birthday. I want to put that out there in the beginning. Bro, I am so excited for this episode. This is an episode that has a lot of meat on it, meaning because it's the year review, man, of all the exciting things, from the CM Punk fights to in the locker room, from Prince Nana doing the swerve, from, people passing away. It's just so Terry Funk, just so much things that happened in 2023 that happened so fast that you didn't realize, but there's a lot of things that happen in pro wrestling.
Oh yeah, it's going to go down as one of the most tumultuous years in recent history, both from a business standpoint, a creative standpoint, and then all of the drama that has occurred, mostly with the one company, but also in terms of the courtroom and other developments involving pro wrestling. Some positive, some negative. We're going to talk. We're of course not going to hit everything, but we're going to talk about some of the areas that spoke to us. But before we get to that, can you talk about your continuing progress in terms of physical rehab and the outlook for you in terms of next year getting back into the ring and defending that hardcore road trip heavyweight championship for which you are the longest reigning champion?
Well, brother, to be honest with you, man, things are going great, man. I mean, my healing process is just going through the roof. I'm on the treadmill doing inclines, no pain. I started riding the Aerodyne bike. That's what I did today. After I'm done doing the show, I'm going to jump some rope a little bit, do some kettlebells. So things are progressing real fast. So the doctor was even impressed that I'm doing the things that I'm doing. But of course, I don't really drink. I don't smoke. I don't do any type of narcotics. I don't live the CM Punk lifestyle of clean, like I still have a cheeseburger once in a while. But the fact is that I do take care of myself. And I mean, it aches a little bit because, again, it's still healing. But I could, I know I could get back in the ring and get 110%. And especially by whatever time to get back in the ring, I think I'll be 100% ready.
Well, that's exciting because at Great North Wrestling, we've experienced we had a great year in terms of the restart.
Absolutely.
We had 3 really solid shows, exciting shows, successful creatively and financially. We're just looking at the year ahead and trying to navigate some challenges that have come up, but fans are going to want to stay tuned to the HANNIBALtv.com to ensure that they get the information about the shows that we are going to present. And there he is. I love how you mix it up in terms of the run-in every week, and it always screws me up. So that's awesome.
I love this doll.
Yeah, he's great. But we're going to look at another strong season. It's just a case of nailing down the final details, and we are going to be proud to have you in a Great North Wrestling ring finally, and we'll be able to pick up where you left off in 2014, I guess, was your last defense of that title against Rhino.
I'm so excited. Like I said, I could never put over Canada. I mean, my words don't even describe it because, like I said, every time I go back, I have a great time. I'm a kid in the candy store. So, like I said, I'm always excited. So, once I get back, don't think I'm going to head back to the hotel, man. I'm going to go to Tim Hortons. I'm going to go get me some poutine. I'm going to be running around, man. So, I'm going to be having a great old time. Like I said, I love Canada. Not the cold, but I just love that place.
And hit up Boston Pizza.
Oh,
like
yeah,
we did last time. That was a good time.
Yeah, always a good time. Excuse me.
Well, if we're looking at perhaps the arguably the biggest story from the perspective of in ring and the enhancement of the company, I would say that would be the return of CM Punk to WWE after a decade, and his recent return against Dominic Mysterio and MSG. Was this something that you expected to happen, notwithstanding all of the AEW issues with the heat that was there between Punk and Triple H and some of the other notables in the company? Did you ever think that he would come back?
Yeah, well, in pro wrestling, man, you could never say never, because all these individuals, from Jeff Jarrett to the Ultimate Warrior to people, the only person that I don't ever think will ever come back is Nails. That's the only one that, I mean, that will never get into the ring. The funny thing is that CM Punk had a good relationship with Dana White, regardless of his MMA career, his short career, but he had a really good relationship with Dana White. And that, I'm not saying that is a factor, but due to the fact that that company bought out WWE, that it was in his favor, basically. So regardless of what WWE, like I said, never say never, but I just think I think that was part of it, his relationship with Dana White and stuff like that. But again, never say never, man. If it's the right angle, if it's the right moment, and if it's gonna make him money, WWE would jump on it. You know what I mean? It's up to CM Punk to fuck it up, again. And then maybe look, how many years has it been? How many years has it been? 10?
10.
10 years. So think about it. If he fucks up now, that's another 10 years. You know what I'm saying? So
He's done.
Yeah, he's done. But he's doing good. I mean, I don't have nothing against CM Punk. I mean, he's getting over with the fans. I heard a lot of good positive feedback from people in the locker room that is saying that he's really nice, really, really approachable. He was put over Shawn Michaels, and how Shawn Michaels was like really, receptive to him. Everybody in the locker room was happy to see him. He was nice to everybody. They even said, hey, he's more than welcome to come back. Also, he went to the Performance Center, and they would really, it was like, hey, he was great. So they even told him, yo, you don't need to, there's an open invitation. You can come in anytime. You don't have to ask. So, I mean, it looks like he's getting off on a good foot. Now, I could see AJ Lee coming into the mix once, he gets his his feet wet, and then I won't be surprised. I'm telling you, like a Royal, like the Royal Rumble or something. I won't be surprised she'll pop up, that, or maybe down the road, but she'll pop up.
Yeah, I was skeptical based upon his animosity or what was reported as mutual animosity between himself and Triple H. But then when the story started being leaked to Meltzer, allegedly, that there's no interest, and they said no, and Meltzer was reporting that there's not a good chance that he's going to come back. I thought, so they're swerving the sheets, which means that it's a done deal. Mm-hmm. And from that point forward, especially with the Survivor Series in Chicago, I thought they have a history, as you pointed out, of welcoming those back into the fold that have, left, sued, whatever. And we could go from, everyone from Sable to Warrior to all points in between. So that it's exciting for the company and the product. There, it opens up a lot of possibilities. The big question that I don't think folks are really paying attention to now is, he was hurt a lot in AEW, and I'm wondering if, he's obviously on a lighter schedule, maybe doing some house shows, et cetera, but how long is it going to be before he gets hurt again and derails things, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I mean, due to the fact that WWE really take care of their wrestlers, I mean, shit happens in the ring. You can't avoid any type of injury. I mean, no matter how safe you try to be. But I could see him just changing his style. Look at Stone Cold. After he injured his neck, he had to change his style a little bit. And so I think he'll be able to, change it up a little bit, but still be the CM Punk that everybody loves. But he won't be doing no flying elbow outside the ring onto the damn announcer's table. I just see him doing stuff that's more grounded and maybe a couple of little high spots off the second rope. You know what I mean? Simple, but not like stuff like what they did to Charlotte Flair, like lady jumps up and then they slip bust their ass. Nah, he won't be doing that unless there's some big money in it. But yeah,
I
he's not that
saw.
old,
No, he's 43 or 4, if
so he's
memory
fine.
serves me correct. So
He's
he's
fine.
still got some good years left in him. And I don't know if you saw the footage of the match that he had against Dom Mysterio. I think it was on the 27th. A
Just
little
a
bit
little
of it.
bit, just a little
Very
bit of it.
very basic, safe match from what I saw. So I think you're absolutely right.
Just remember, I mean, and you know this, once you become a legend, regardless of what's you know how when some wrestlers show up at shows and they don't do shit in the ring because you're just buying the name. So sometimes that's what it is, and I hate sounding like that, but sometimes some wrestlers don't do the crazy stuff that they used to do. But since it's Sabu and he does one thing, compared to how he used to do shit, it's still Sabu. You know what I mean? So, it's still CM Punk. He's playing it safe. He doesn't want to get himself hurt. I mean, especially Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, all that bullshit coming up. He wants us to keep himself healthy. Yeah, you get hurt in WrestleMania, it's fine. I mean, but you don't want to get hurt now and then not, miss those two big events.
Yeah, and if you look at I some people say, oh, so and so's phoning it in or blah blah blah, but why would Punk do stuff that he doesn't need to do, high risk stuff? He's over. He's extremely over. He comes
Mhm.
out, the crowd hits, here's the music, they pop. He doesn't need to do all that stuff. So I think that's just plain working smart, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, when you're a high flyer like Rey Mysterio, Super Crazy, Tajiri, those type of individuals that are known for their high flying, think about it like this. Look at Muda. I mean, as he was
He
getting
just
older,
retired this year too, was on the
yeah,
list. His last match in Japan in 2023, January, was this year.
but I don't even remember him doing the backflip elbow into the in the corner you know as the years went on. I mean, like, but he transitioned. He reinvented himself. I mean, and he was still a hell of a worker. So I mean, sometimes you have to slow down, um, or reinvent yourself to still be the same person, but just a little more grounded.
Mm, absolutely. Moving to another huge story in addition, and you touched on it, but we'll talk about it in a bit, the UFC WWE merger. How about that show that AEW put on in Wembley, which we hear Mr. Khan talking about a lot as being the biggest show indoor crowd ever for professional wrestling. And isn't it sad that all that notwithstanding, nobody's talking about that anymore? They're talking about the backstage dust up between Punk and Jack Perry, but still quite an accomplishment for that company. I think what remains to be seen is how next year's will go.
Well, you brought up a good point in regards to the CM Punk and Jack Perry situation. What gets under my skin is that Jack Perry is not one of the boys. The only reason he got into the business is because of his dad. So I don't consider him a wrestler. You know what I mean? Like if I got in the ring with him, he ain't gonna be doing the shenanigans. Hey man, we should use real glass. No, motherfucker. I've been doing this longer
Mm,
than you have.
mm.
And if he got all upset and who swung first? Was it CM Punk or was it him or was it a shoving match and then somebody swung first?
From what I understand, there was a confrontation verbally, a little bit of a shoving match, and then Punk goozled him.
And that's the thing, man. I mean, boys always fight in the locker room. I've seen it. It's been done, and then it's all good. the funny thing is that Tony Khan fired CM Punk at the time, which is more beneficial for him now that he's in WWE. So, and he got his money. I mean, they probably paid him off his contract and just kicked him to the curb. But the point is that first of all, he shouldn't have been scared for his life because of Punk. Punk ain't gonna do anything, and and that he should have like suspended Punk or fined him and then find Perry, because now that he fired Punk, Perry thinks like, oh yeah, see, it was because of me he got fired. He's nobody. Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking Perry. It's just that he needs to realize that he's still green and he's still new in the business. And I don't give a fuck if he hears this or not, but it's just that he needs to pay his dues. And just because he's in with one company doesn't mean he's a superstar. Because you remember, like back in the days, guys were in TNA, and then when they went to TNA, they decided to go to the Performance Center. You know, there were top stars in there, and they were nobody in WWE. So he needs to realize where, he needs to chill and be humbled.
Well, I think that's that is also a huge story in terms of not only the what seems to be that Wembley show notwithstanding, but what seems to be the declining fortunes of AEW. If you look at the house show attendance, ratings, all the metrics across the board, the chaos. This week there were a number of announcements of key office personnel leaving, including one of the Young Bucks' wives who handled merch, and the individual responsible for booking the buildings on the road. So it's a company that appears to be in a lot of chaos and turmoil. I'm not one of the haters of AEW that wishes ill will for it, because I'm for any place where a worker can find work, that's great. And I think, to quote Brian Last, it's a significant portion of the wrestling ecosystem. So it's in everybody's best interest if it succeeds. But there appears to be a complete lack of leadership or authority there, because that issue with Perry and I use real glass, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that happening in WWE? I don't think so. So I think I fall into the camp of the fact that AEW is not going to turn its fortunes around until Mr. Khan realizes that he's a super fan and a super hard worker and all those attributes, but he can't do everything himself. He needs to bring in others to do the booking for him, the creative, and start being a boss instead of trying to be a people pleaser. And I've had people that work there tell me that he's a great guy, nice guy, but a people pleaser, and it's costing him millions of dollars.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. He needs to just put that. He needs to separate those two sides. He can be a people pleaser and be very humbled and real likable, like a Shane McMahon. Everybody likes Shane, but when it comes to business, that's when he's on that path. So I think he just has people around him that's just walking all over him, using taking his money, and he needs to surround himself with some really good people to protect his interest and his money and the benefit of the company. Because wrestling is like I said, it's just like when TNA first started with Trick Dixie Carter and Eric Bischoff, and Eric Bischoff mentioned it on his podcast that AEW is nothing but another version of TNA. They're regurgitating the same old talent, and they're coming in and getting all this money, which again, I am not knocking them. Make your money, but you're bringing in Jeff Jarrett, you're bringing in his wife, you're bringing in I just hate saying it, man, but it's the same people that you saw in TNA. There's not new faces, and that's the thing. And you're paying them ridiculous amounts of money to, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense sometimes.
And Kerwin points out here, the problem about Tony Khan is he doesn't take criticism, and that's true. If you listen to his media scrums and other interviews, everything's great. You try and bring up valid points, he doesn't want to hear it. I think the difference primarily between TNA and AEW is the funding, but there's got to be a point, even when a seemingly endless supply of money will run out. And I've had, again, people on the roster indicate that it is complete chaos, reminiscent not only of TNA but WCW in terms of formats and QT Marshall, the man who was writing the formats to try and
Mhm.
get Tony's ideas into some kind of a coherent form. He left. So 2024, I think, is going to be a big time make or break year for AEW. One thing they could do right away is stop bringing in everyone and their dog, hiring everyone. That roster has got to be, another person told me, somewhere around 300 ish, and they're not being used. You've got significant talent sitting at home, getting paid, not being used. Again, what does that remind you of? WCW.
Yeah. The funny thing is that it's just weird because it's like Tony Khan has to. The money's gonna run. I'm not saying the money's gonna run out, but it's just like Dixie Carter's dad. He was the meat, the money man. I know, Tony Khan got money, but I'm saying his dad is kind of the money man. I don't know the whole dynamics of it, but just like anybody's gonna be like, hey man, I mean, what the fuck? Are we making money or not, man? I know this is a tax write-off, but I need to make some type of profit. Eventually, he'll realize, his dad will realize, oh, this is a fucking money pit. So that's the
And
thing.
you've had your inheritance, so that's it. Moving to a positive aspect of AEW, and again, this is of course no criticism of the wrestlers there. I know, it's the roster is loaded, and it's not their fault that they're not being used properly. But we've got to see this year in AEW some prominent talent come forward. One of which you highlighted being Swerve and Prince Nana. Did you want to talk about that?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I'm proud of Prince Nana. I give him shit all the time, and because it's just we've always been that way. But man, I mean, I hope he doesn't see this because then he'll get a big head. But but the thing is, man, he's really doing good. I mean, he got lightning, and he's lightning in the bottle. Ride the wave until you can't ride it no more, and just sell the shit out. He's doing great. The fans are loving it. So I'm not saying Swerve is not talented, but Nana compliments them just like Slick complimented the Twin Towers, when you're coming out with the Jive So Bro. It just puts it over even more. So I'm pretty happy for him. I know he got Tony Khan's ear, and he told me he has a good relationship with him, and I see Nana doing real good in the company, and hopefully, once WWE sees that, maybe he could be the next Teddy Long in WWE. But like I said, I cannot be more proud of that motherfucker, because he worked hard and he paid his dues, and this is his time to shine.
Yeah, shout out to Nana. I just to close the loop on that, I want to predict that if used properly, Swerve will be the AEW World Champion in 2024. The man has all the tools, credible athlete, and if you notice, I don't know if you've watched any of his stuff, even against in my opinion, a subpar talent like Hangman Adam Page, who knows everything and has nothing to learn from veterans. But all that aside, he is shining. He's supposed to be the heel in that feud, and he is getting all the pop. So I will predict right here, and we'll come back next year, the Lord willing, and talk about what we got right and wrong. But I will predict that, again, if used properly, Swerve will be the world champion there, and should be the world champion there. And I'd love to bring him into Great North Wrestling as well.
Yeah, man, I can see. He has a good look. He got a good swag to himself. It's just. I can see a lot going for him, man, and hopefully they'll use him in the right way and give him his dues in regards to getting that strap around his waist to even push him even further. So, like I said, with Nana by his side with the Swerve and dancing and stuff and just building it up, I think it's just he's taking it to the mountaintop.
Excellent. We've talked about this before. We talked about it at the time that it occurred. I don't know if we've seen really how much of an impact or how the game is going to change for the WWE, but we're talking about the merger with UFC and the new entity, the single company. Punk's back, as you mentioned, with the Dana White connection. I heard that they're considering cutting down on what were formerly referred to as house shows, but now live events, at least for quote unquote secondary and C towns.
Yeah.
And that could provide an opportunity for those of us in independent wrestling to capitalize. But that definitely was obviously a huge story this year. We haven't really seen in my view, the whether or not they were sincere or talking about getting rid of Vince entirely because of his legal liabilities. Perhaps that has to follow, but it does seem that Triple H is firmly in control, at least of the television product. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, who cares if Vince leaves? I mean, he got paid, he sold the company, he made his money. So, I mean, yeah, would it hurt that, like you sold your company and now suddenly you get the boot? But it's not like he's going to be homeless and living in destitute and just, he'd be Vince McMahon. And shit, for all we know, freaking, if that happened, Vince McMahon just pops up on some other company, like, holy shit, just like fucking Eric Bischoff showing up in WWE that nobody thought he would ever happen. So, but I mean, if that happens, I mean, do I think it will? I don't know. Maybe it's hard to tell, but yeah, I don't see that happening. But like you said, Triple H looks like he's in control, and I think they're favoring more on Triple H. And I could see, I could see it tilting that way, but it's just hard to determine when that will happen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, one of the major features, according to my friends in the MMA community, and I'm by no means an authority there, of the UFC, is cost cutting eventually and trimming down expenses. So maybe this rumor about the secondary towns and cutting down on the house shows is part of it. But that's definitely a story that we're going to have to continue to watch into the next year. In the meantime, they're making more money than they ever had. They're up for new TV deals, et cetera, et cetera. So it's nothing but roses for that company. It'd be interesting to see if WWE does do a deal with Time Warner, which is rumored, or sorry, in talks with Time Warner, which is the AEW. The AEW company, and that could be trouble, of course, for AEW.
Well, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of things could be happening with WWE, and the fact is, if they're trimming the fat, regardless of who they're trimming the fat, they still have to pay off people's contract. So if it's I'm just making it up here, but if it's a Seth Rollins, I mean, the guy, whatever contract he has, they got to pay him out all his money. So is it really like, fuck, like. You know what I mean? Once you're making money and you got money in the bank and you rich, unless you live outside your means, and you get fired, you're like, all right, well, I'm rich. Mm-hmm. I mean, it takes away the heaviness of like when you lose your actual job, like the real world job, and you're like, oh my God, I lost my job, benefits, but once you're in the millions and you got money in the bank and you're like, all right, well, like I said, as long as you don't got a Bugatti and you got a ridiculous house, but if you live modestly and you'll be fine. Like an R-Truth. Would they let go of R-Truth? Think about it. He's 50 years old, my age. Well, I'm older. He, I mean, they're not really using him. I mean, he's great. I'm not knocking him. He's wonderful. But just like you said, if UFC looks at it like, yo, yeah, he's a great guy. Like Alicia Fox, they loved Alicia Fox. She was loved and liked, but eventually, at some point, they were like, "Yeah, we got to let her go," and they let her go.
Well, we'll see how that plays out. I think another major story at the end of the year here, in terms of significance for pro wrestling in the mainstream consciousness, is the success of the Von Erich movie, The Iron Claw, which I just took in this morning. Did you happen to catch it yet, Kingpin?
I'm going to be honest. I don't really go to the movies no more due to the fact that I catch everything on, Netflix or, Hulu and stuff. So I really just wait until it shows up on the on the streaming services. So I'm pretty excited to see it, and I heard positive things about it. Yeah, they cut a couple things out that in regards about some true life events, but it's just if they would have put that that other suicide in there, it just would have made it even more darker. So I think they just didn't have enough time to put that in the movie, but it was still great. Everybody talks positive about it.
Well, from my perspective, it was supremely well acted, and
Thank you.
there's got to be some contention there for some nominations, especially the actor that portrayed Fritz von Erich. He was bang on. Kevin,
My trainer Johnny Roz was the who trained them to do the Fritz von Erich.
no way, really?
Yeah, Johnny was yeah, there's an article. I mean, I knew about it way before, but he I'll send it to you if I find it. But yeah, he was committing, working with Johnny before the movie started, and Johnny was teaching him the claw. Because think about it, Johnny's old school. He's from that era. So I think they needed somebody from that era that understood the concept of that type of wrestling. So yeah, he trained them. If you go, yeah, Johnny did it.
Wow, that's cool. I did not know that. I'll definitely take a look at that when you send it to me. I mean, for a movie, it was excellent. It was well acted. I tried to set aside the super fan and the wrestling historian aspect of myself when viewing the movie. I will say a couple of things that jumped out to me on the negative side, aside from the fact that they left Chris out, his suicide for whatever reason. I think just the average viewer watching that film would only get a minimal appreciation of what a success World Class was in its heyday, in terms of not only selling out the Sportatorium, et cetera, but the television product that they had, nationally televised, worldwide televised, the production that they were responsible for, the in-ring cameras, et cetera. So I don't think the average viewer got that. The second thing being some of the issues that the Von Erichs had, the boys had, was somewhat glossed over in terms of them being, renowned for their partying, their drug use. They became unreliable, including Kevin. That I think that was touched on. There was a couple of scenes where they were shooting juice, and the Kerry Von Erich character was snorting pills, but I think that was somewhat glossed over as well. And the third, which was my original fear when I learned of the casting for this movie, was I got to put over Jeremy Allen White, a tremendous actor from Shameless, that series on Disney Plus, The Bear. Incredible actor, nothing but praise for his skill. But Kerry Von Erich was a giant. 6'2", 270 pounds, one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest physiques of all time in an era of action figure-like physiques. And Jeremy Allen White is a little guy, and he trained hard, and he was obviously on the sauce for a bit, and he looked great. But to suspend the disbelief of this guy is Kerry Von Erich, nah. In fact, Kevin looked more like Kerry. Efron looked more like Kerry. So
that's what I was going to say. He was more jacked. I think Zac Efron held more weight as a star power, but it didn't really matter who was the main star from a Kevin to a Kerry. But the only reason that they have Kerry is not Kerry Kevin is because he's the only one that's alive. So, but if they really just wanted to, do the movie from the perspective of all of them, with no one to be the focus person, then Zac Efron could have played Kerry, and Jeremy could have played Kevin.
Yeah, it was something that I kept saying to myself, the vast majority of people probably wouldn't. And, aside from all the wrestling fans that would of an old school vintage, they probably wouldn't notice. But for me, being a huge fan of Kerry Von Erich back in the day, it was something. But all in all, a very excellent production. They should pick up some hardware at the Golden Globes, potentially the Oscars. And I know we were talking about this briefly before we came on air, but the rumor is with the success of this film, they're looking at additional wrestling related projects, and one of them is a movie about ECW. Thoughts on that?
Well, before I answer that one, I did send you the link. Just let you know it's in your messenger. When did you hear it, or did you see it as a rumor?
I read it online.
Okay, then you got to send me that article. I don't know. I mean, it'd be great, but I'm not gonna. We were joking around before the show, like, oh, will the Kingpin be in it? I don't think so. Maybe behind the scenes, like in the background, your guy bald, with 3 other dudes and stuff. Or just a quick glimpse of like when in Highlander when Duncan MacLeod was in the Madison Square Garden, they and the Freebirds are wrestling. Yeah, just quick glimpse. But I mean, there's a lot of stories, and there's a lot of tragedies, and there's a lot of drug use, and there's a lot of adventures. So I mean, if they do it right, it could be a good movie. It's just they have to do it right, and stuff. So I'm just trying to visualize it, who will play who, and I'm just trying to visualize what, who will play Paul Heyman, who will play Taz, who will play fucking Tommy Dreamer, Sabu.
How about New Jack? Who's going to play New Jack?
There's a lot of good actors out there. I mean, you can find a newcomer, or you could find, a veteran. It's just that, but the veteran has to portray that character. And right now, off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody. And after the show, maybe it'll hit me. But they just need somebody. I mean, there's so many fucking actors out there that that are good. So, but we just want somebody that truly is convincing to portray New Jack. But then you have to have somebody who plays Mustafa, because Mustafa is part of the Gangsters, the Eliminators. Just so many things in regards to that. The Rock and Rebel, I mean, he committed suicide after he killed his family, I think, if I remember, or girlfriend, whatever. I mean, there's so much stories in there, but they can't go off every damn story that happened, every tragedy that happened in that company. That'd be like a 4-hour movie.
It still has the potential to be, with all that tragedy, it still has the potential to be a story of, a little engine that could fighting the big dog, so to speak, and succeeding and having a legacy with fans that still love the product to this day. Not including the fact that Paul Heyman was on Vince's payroll. They could maybe do something with that there and underestimate that or underemphasize that. But I see a lot of potential in that for a feature film in the sort of vein of the Iron Claw.
And what are they going to focus on? Are they going to focus mostly on Paul Heyman in regards of how he took a little company and made it to a big company and brought it down with the behind the scenes shenanigans? Are they going to be focused on that? Are they going to be focused? How will they handle it? What will be the main story? The rise and fall of ECW. You know what I mean? You just got to visualize what they're going to focus on, what part of the story.
Well, we'll have to keep on that story. Moving on to
and another thing before they cut you off, C.W. Anderson. I mean, I don't know who they could play him. His head is so big. Besides the Great Kazoo from the Flintstones, or the alien from Star Trek with Christopher Pike, the big domes and stuff. So hope CW sees this. Love you, CW.
Yeah, and don't put over DeVito either, right?
Who? Oh, yeah. My back still hurts from carrying them.
Tremendous. So we're talking earlier about what the most tragic story is in terms of wrestling for impact on shattered lives, et cetera, and I think there's only one.
Okay, well let's go with what I think of what you think. You go first, and I'll tell you me, unless you want me to go first and you tell me.
No, you go first.
I think Terry Funk.
His passing.
Yep, his passing. What about you?
I think in terms of just general, it's hard. I know we've talked about it extensively, but thinking about it in terms of a shattered family and just the disrepute that the individual has brought on the business, and just the general story of inevitability that someone was going to lose their life. That would be the sentencing of Tammy Sitch, Sonny, and had the pleasure of interviewing Johnny Candido recently, and he basically echoed some of the sentiments that the fans had about trying to bring up Chris's name, and that as a catalyst for her downfall when her behavior was atrocious for years, irresponsible, and she finally killed someone. And how many times did we hear on broadcasts such as this when each DUI and imprisonment came up, and et cetera, that it's going to be inevitable that she's going to kill someone? And I think that story, notwithstanding the passings, including Terry, which we'll talk about in a minute, but I think that's the most troubling story this year.
Well, I mean, and again, using Chris Candido as the reason why she was spiraling down, which was bullshit, because when he, like you said, when he was alive, she was doing what she was doing. Like I said, Chris was a great guy. I mean, we weren't buddies, but he was cordial, and from my perspective, was nice and funny. And and she was treating him like shit. That's the God honest truth. So let's just say if he was still alive and she crashed, who the hell she was going to blame? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. She just needed something to pull on the heartstrings to give that, yeah, that makes sense. But no, she did it to herself. She thought she was untouchable. And now she's doing all these years. And again, I'm not making fun of that she's fat but the girl, that's the thing, man. The woman was, beautiful, sexy, curvaceous, and she let herself go. And then what's the first thing people see? And remember, you talked about that. When you're a wrestler and fans have this perception of this wrestler that they have embedded in their mind, and they show up at the show or the convention and they go, hey, I'm here to see whoever. And they go, that's me. And they go, ooh. You know what I mean? Like, again, I'm not making fun of Jake Roberts, but I say, like, when you go to see Jake, hey, I'm here to see Jake sing. You see him with the little, because you got look at his nose, Oscar Jake. And again, he's sitting there and he goes, hey, kid. And you're like, ooh, hey, Jake, can you sign this for me? It's a pleasure meeting you. But in your mind, like, man, my hero, like Ricky Steamboat looks like Ricky Steamboat. Yeah, he's not jacked, but he still looks like Ricky Steamboat. Greg Valentine, he's old, but he still looks like Greg Valentine. So it's just that, it's just, I don't know, dude. It's just, you have to keep yourself at least presentable. So the fans, and she just let herself go, man. And, I don't have no sympathy for her. Fuck her sideways. I hope she gets a girlfriend in there that takes care of her. And, and that's it, man. I have no sympathy for her. She has so many chances. And I hate sounding like that, but I can't give her any more leeway.
Yeah. And in speaking with Johnny, I think one of the, at least for the wrestling community and the wrestling fans, was I'm a huge fan of Chris. Borrowed his moniker in a tribute, no gimmicks guy. I think too often his legacy is interplayed with Tammy's and obscured by, and this could be an opportunity for the memory of Chris and the talent that he was to step out from that and kind of shake that off, because that seemed to be, well, look at the Dark Side of the Ring episode. It was Chris and Tammy, and maybe I'm being naive, but I think that's a potential opportunity there. But yes, unfortunately, a man is dead, a family is shattered, and she's right where she belongs, in my opinion. You touched on one of the most high-profile passings, definitely Terry Funk.
Fuck yeah.
The man who was responsible for putting ECW on the map, a legend, a quality human being, and definitely leaves a big hole in the wrestling community. But is there a more tragic passing than the death of Bray Wyatt?
Man, that is tragic. I mean, it's just Terry Funk was on the top of my head, but now that you bring that up, Bray Wyatt, yeah, absolutely. That is because he was young. He had so much to give. the road, the road jokingly to WrestleMania, I mean, was endless. So, I mean, and for him to pass away, it's just really hard when you look at it from a person, who's young. And he, a lot of those guys, speak highly of him. I never met the guy, but I always heard positive things about him. I wish I would have met him and, and get my own experience to see how nice he was. But he was gone too soon, and that's something that's, people should just relish, but you never know what life gives you, man. That's why every day you got to take it like this is your last day on earth. Yeah, don't blow your money and go to do cocaine and strippers, but just enjoy life, man. Don't take things too serious.
And along those lines of gone too soon, very, very tragic passing as well is the death of Jay Briscoe.
Yeah. I forgot about that. When did he pass? I forgot. When was that?
And somebody will correct us here, but I think it was just before the summer. He was unfortunately in a vehicular incident that took his life right when the Briscoes were going to do something in AEW. They had the matches with
oh yeah,
FTR,
yeah. He was with his kids. He was in, it was around the summer. It was like, no, he died in January.
Oh, was it that long ago?
No, wait a minute. Yeah, January soon. Yeah, like in the middle of January of 2023. I could be wrong.
I thought it was later than that, but you're probably correct. Yeah, just an amazing talent, one hell of a tag team.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, finally in a on a platform that could get them recognition and advance their careers. Unfortunately, Mark is of course on AEW television right now and being treated as a jobber. So hopefully they have better plans there for him. But yeah, Jay was a huge and
January 17th of 2023.
Okay, you're right. I stand corrected. It seemed later than that to me. So those two young fellas passing, definitely very tragic. Amongst some of the other names that we lost this year, of course, superstar Billy Graham, who suffered with health issues for years and years and years and years, and had a close friendship with Hannibal. Suggest fans who haven't seen it, search up superstar Billy Graham on the Hannibal TV, and you'll find a wealth of shoot interviews. The man is definitely, I mean, how can you, when it comes to legends and those that shaped the business as to what it was and what it is, you got to start the conversation with superstar. Do you not?
No, absolutely. Superstar Billy Graham, man. I mean, you can't. I mean, guys idolized him, man. The man was, tower of power, too sweet to be sour. You know what I mean? The guy, Macho Man, mimicked him. Hulk Hogan mimicked him. It was just
Steiner.
The Steiners. You know what I mean? So I mean, the guy was instrumental in this business. He was he had his bullshit drama, but who else doesn't? But yeah, I mean, superstar Billy Graham is the man. But I mean, he was sick for a long time. I mean, he was sick for a long time. He said it was like abuse of steroids and all that stuff. I mean, it is, it isn't, but I mean, he lived a long life, but it was not a comfortable life, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And John is pointing out the next on the list right here is the Iron Sheik, and what a loss he was to the business.
Bubba. You jabroni. Yeah, I love Sheiky, man. He was a cool dude. I mean, I see this documentary, but I never, when being not in the ring with him, being around him, I just never saw that side of him. He was just always funny. I heard my favorite story of him was that when he was back in WWE, I don't know, it was this during, I can't remember when, but it was his second time around. And they did a drug test, and they go, "Hey, Sheiky, need to talk to you." And it was Vince, and he's like, "Yeah, man, just you tested positive for marijuana. Wow, see, my friend, yes, absolutely, positively, positively. There's no drugs in my system.
Yeah,
No,
that's tremendous. Yeah, it's positive. That's good, right?
positive, good baby,
Oh,
cheeky, good,
oh,
clean baby. You know, and you know there will never be no one like him, man. I mean, you know, Jabroni came from the Iron Sheik. You know, everybody mimics the Iron Sheik. And there's only one Iron Sheik, man. You know, he's the one that did the Persian clubs. You know, people, I mean, now that you know, Al Snow is doing it and stuff, but who's the innovator of that? The Iron Sheik. I want to get some. I want to try that shit out. And
I did.
You did?
I met the Sheik at an independent show about 2000. Boy, when would this be? Before 2010, it was a big show actually for an indie. There was Brutus Beefcake there, the Hammer, Sheik, and a couple of others I'm forgetting. And he was challenging me to try the clubs, blah, blah, blah. I picked them up and decided discretion was the better part of valor, and then moved on. But yeah, he became a pop cultural phenomenon as well, which, you know, good for him. He had a lot of notoriety.
He got a lot of notoriety, especially being on the Howard Stern show. That kind of little bit resurrected his career. I'm not saying it was any negative stuff, but it did resurrect him, and it really helped him out to, you know, get a popularity. So, I mean, and he was, you know, the bodyguard of the Shaw or something like that. He was Olympic. I mean, he was a beat wrestler. I mean, the guy was, I mean, yeah, he doesn't look like it at the time when he was older, but he had a body and he was strong, dude. He was a beast, man.
Other passings of note, the one half of the New Zealand sheep herders, famous for his stint as part of the Bushwhackers, Butch Miller, great guy. Had a chance to do one of the last interviews with him and his partner Luke. Kind of an unexpected deal there as well. He needed some medical treatment and didn't get it while he was overseas. So Helen Miller, his widow, is a great follow on social media. If you have an opportunity to check her out, that was sad. The great promoter Jerry Jarrett passed away.
Oh yeah.
And I would strongly recommend the fans watching to search up Jerry Jarrett on the Hannibal TV. Hannibal actually went to his Hendersonville, Kentucky. Sorry, I'm saying that incorrectly. His estate and did a very lengthy interview with him, and that's fascinating in terms of wrestling history.
You know, I don't mean to jump back, but it just popped in my head, so I just try to throw it out there. You know, you're talking about, like, you know, the Iron Claw and then the ECW rumor. You know what would be a really good movie? Bruiser Brody.
Yes.
That would be a good movie.
You know? Yes, I think the actor that they tapped to play Brody in the Iron Claw wasn't the best, but nowhere near as poor, in my opinion, as Ric Flair. Just horrendous. If you happen to see the clip of the interview,
I saw the guy I saw the clip. It looked like shit.
Oh yeah, it wasn't good. Will Ferrell would have been.
Yeah, that's what I say. I got got these plums.
Yeah. He would have been much better. But Jerry Jarrett, legendary promoter, gone, unfortunately. Mantar, who had a brief stint in the WWE, managed by Jim Cornette. Again, some of the last interviews that he gave are on the Hannibal TV, and was quite an engaging interview. And
it was PN News' half brother.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No, really?
Yeah. They're half brothers. I forgot the whole story, but yeah, look it up. I mean, I'll find it for you, but yeah, they have brothers.
Oh wow, learn something new every day.
I thought you knew that.
And finally, aside from the news today that Killer Khan passed, who had an excellent gimmick, excellent look, and one hell of a couple of really good matches with Kamala, amongst others, Andre the Giant, et cetera, et cetera. Lanny Poffo left us.
Yeah, man, the
Randy's
genius.
brother. The genius Lanny Poffo, who of course has a long history with Great North Wrestling, both in terms of being on the cards, shoot interviews, and was another friend of Hannibal that just had a tremendous mind for the business. One of the most enigmatic characters that you're going to find, entertaining, but gone too soon, I would say as well, considering he was straighter than straight edge.
And the funny thing is that I'm not saying he died the same way, but it was something that had to do with his heart,
Mm,
as
mm,
well.
mm.
So that's just what's scary. That's why when you like have a like known history of like your dad died of something and then your brother died, you like, I definitely would look into making sure my ticker is running right.
Well, again, it's been a terrible year for losses to the industry. Hopefully, 2024 will be better. But before we close this, the final edition of Shooting from the Hip for 2023, Kingpin, what are your hopes and dreams for 2024, my friend?
To be alive, to stay healthy, um, stop losing a lot of good friends, um, continue doing my podcast with you, go up to Canada, just enjoying life, man. I mean, that's what it is, man. I mean, I had a blessed career, but I still have a lot to give, regardless if it's in the ring or out the ring. It's just I still have a lot to do, and hopefully, 2024 and 2025 and 2026 it will just get better and better. What about you?
Well, I similarly am thankful for good health. I've lost, I recently lost my mom, and my dad passed away in 2019. So
Yeah.
I think I'm carrying on their legacy now. I'm grateful for the support that I have in my life. I'm grateful for the opportunity to do this podcast, for you to do work for the Hannibal TV and Cheap Heat Productions. Great North Wrestling, though, I'm going to predict that we have some pretty stellar shows in 2024 that the fans are going to want to be staying tuned for. But most of all, I'm appreciative of the great fans that are not only of this channel of Cheap Heat and our podcast, but of pro wrestling in general. I know fans get in this day and age. There's there's a tendency to write off the IWC or whatever term you want to call it as negative all the time, but that certainly hasn't been my experience. I think we've got a very strong positive fan base. The fans that express their concern about your healing process, and the ones that follow and provide us great input on the show, we appreciate it and are blessed by the opportunity in some small way. I know there's a lot of choices out there. Those that tune into our show and enjoy what we do, I'm very thankful for them.
Absolutely. I mean, what do you got planned for your New Year's Eve? Are you spending time with your wife?
I'm going to be taking it very, very, very relaxed. I'm usually up early, to bed early. That's early to rest, early to rise.
Early
So
to bed,
I'm
early
gonna
to rest.
something like that. I like to. I used to stay up longer than I did, and not care about getting a lot of sleep. But as I'm old now, officially, I think it's true. I'm more focused than ever on health and fitness and maintaining that time in the gym. Oh, we have a run in from my partner on the Cheap Heat Productions podcast, Maurice Shorthall, who I called Mario a couple of weeks ago in relation to Mario Mancini. He wants to get your opinion on Y2J, that situation. That's
The funny thing in regards to the Y2J situation, it's just because I remember he had this is just rumor, but I heard he had some type of relationship with her, but also she was batshit crazy. I heard a lot of negative stuff about her, and I don't believe half the stories that these women bring up, these allegations, and remember that's the word, allegations. Hey man, last year Jack Kilby squeezed my ass in the fucking Boston Pizza bathroom. That's allegations, man. You better show me the Carfax. That's the fact. That's what's important. That we need to show proof that happened.
Why are you stooging that off?
I just had to tell the people what happened. But I mean, but that's the problem, man. It's just that just because a woman, and I'm not trying to knock them, there are legitimate cases out there, but there's a lot of liars out there as well. And the liars hurt the ones that are really victimized in situations like that. So it's hard to believe them because there's these liars that do that. And like I said, when did this happen? And she's going to say, well, 2 years ago. And then, well, 2 years ago. Well, you better show proof. And I don't know Chris Jericho. I don't have nothing against Chris Jericho, and I'm not rooting for Chris Jericho. But I always heard positive things about him. He never got in trouble before. And all of a sudden, miraculously, this happened, knowing that shit like this was happening before, like allegations, from the Joey Ryan and all this other stuff. So, fuck a chick. But that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, it's a shame. And like I said, there's a lot of women out there. There's a lot of misadventures in ECW that have stories. And I swear to God, I hope somebody come up and say, oh, he just did this bullshit, because everything was consensual. Was I a heel? Was I a dick? Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you need to go. What? Well, I didn't say you could stay. What I mean? That's being, but everything's always, I remember always consensual, all the shenanigans that happen. So hopefully Chris Jericho will come out of this with, unscathed, but I don't think anybody should use her,
The concern that I have about this and all these similar sort of stories that come out are twofold. It tends to be guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a pile-on effect. I think in our society, especially in entertainment, we like to see people fall. We build them up, and we like to see them fall. So I would hope that there would be some fairness applied, and people maintain an open mind about the allegations, as you pointed out, before jumping to the conclusion that the man is guilty of something he may or may not be, but definitely until, as you said, there's evidentiary material presented and whatnot, it's not worth throwing a guy to the wolves when he could be completely innocent.
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. Why throw him to the wolves? I mean, look at and I'm just making a joke here, but look at that situation where, your favorite Prime Minister Trudeau, when he did blackface, and he's still in office. Also he gave that Nazi guy some kudos. He's still, but at least you have proof to say, yo, we don't want you there. This is what happened. You got the proof. But if it was just hearsay, then it's just hearsay,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So we'll definitely be on top of that story as well and see where that plays out. But final thoughts from you, Kingpin, and do you have a message for the fans for the new year?
Man, and to all the fans out there, just stay strong. 2024 is going to be great for you. Just stay positive. Don't let things get you down. Just stay focused and enjoy life, man. Like I said, it's just having to worry about a lot of things just ain't going to make it better. So just always have a positive outlook. You know what I'm saying? 2024, I always regret every new year because you always feel like you haven't done enough. But as long as you made the effort and as long as you're still breathing, then you always have another opportunity to do it right.
I couldn't agree more. Eloquent as always. And once again, fans, we thank you for tuning in to this podcast and your participation. More to come in 2024. And on behalf of the Kingpin, I would like to wish you all a happy, healthy, and prosperous 2024. And we will see you next time. Take care,
Peace
everybody.
out.